morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Political Chit Chat Show with your regular host, Benjamin Nwaki, and our in-house panelists, Jaja and Collins. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, Ben.
It has been, since last week, it has been one event or the other in the polity. But let's start with what happened today. So today, the Supreme Court ruled on the Ondo state election. And by the whisk of luck, the governor was able to retain his seat. The judgment was 4-3. That's close. Let me get your reaction, guys, about it. Let's start with Collins.
I think I'll defer to Jaja on this because we had a conversation earlier. So please, Jaja, I'll defer to you.
Okay, Jaja.
Thank you, Ben. To be honest, Akeredolu, as you rightfully said, managed to get the Supreme Court judgment by whiskers. Technicality, if you might add. What's the technicality in this sense? Ideally, when Eitayo Jegede was, when Eitayo Jegede was petitioning the governor, he failed to add Malabuni as a party, a party, right? And that to an extent, and then what he was challenging was that Malabuni was not even a proper chairman. Therefore, everything that they did from their primaries to whatever was illegal. Do you understand? So that was what he was challenging, and that was the argument. So because that is the framework I know about it, at least at the Court of Appeal level, and I suspect that even in the Supreme Court, I don't have the full facts, but in the Supreme Court case, I would reckon, wager against that also came up and was roundly dismissed. I would say roundly by just one vote, literally by one vote. And for political pundits and people who are vast in politics of our country, that's already a very big signal. And if APC is smart, they'll get their acts together. Because obviously now, if anybody has to challenge, right, the constitutionality, the validity of Malabuni's tenure as a chairman of APC, and it goes the other way, it will go around to have cataclysmic effect, because what it means that most of the things they have been doing have been illegal and everything. So perhaps politically speaking, just to avoid those kind of things from happening, they will do their congresses and get that over with. But from now to that time, if his chairmanship is challenged, it could cause problems for the party. That's my own opinion.
Okay, I'll still stay with you, Jaja. So if Akeredolu managed to escape because Malabuni was not joined in the suit as a person, as against APC being joined in the suit, there have been other elections conducted under Malabuni as Caretaker Committee Chairman of APC. Don't you see the losers of this election going to court to seek redress?
Well, the truth about it is that if you don't, the court is not a Father Christmas, right? If it's period to now, this particular judgment, those people have gone to court and not cite it. Obviously, it may be difficult now to raise that issue, but for future purposes, of course, it will be a problem. How do I say? Even Marafa has at a point threatened to, challenge him, and part of the Zamfara crisis that is brewing. So for the APC leadership, I'm not talking legally now, politically speaking, they need to, as much as possible, find a means to quickly conduct their their congresses to elect duly elected officers of the party. And they must try as much as possible not to flout their constitutional guidelines and rules. One of the, of course, the obvious one being that a governor, cannot hold, a city governor cannot hold a party chairmanship or any elective position, there's a reason for that, and which is already being grossly violated. Of course, we know the reason why they do not want to push for it is because there's not, before we know it, EFCC will start dusting the file of a lot of people. So everybody's afraid of the consequences of their action. Of course, Buhari can guarantee them their freedom of, speech or whatever, but I'm not sure he will guarantee them their freedom after speech. So that is why most of them have not chosen that route at all.
Okay, Collins, can I get your reaction on this at all?
So I don't know if I heard you correctly earlier on. You had said a judgment of 4-1. Actually, it was a judgment of 4-3.
No, 4-3. I never said 4-1.
Oh, okay. Then I heard wrongly.
That's why I said he narrowly escaped.
Yes, indeed. At the tribunal, Akeredolu held sway. Court of Appeal, he held sway as well. Unfortunately for the PDP candidates, Akeredolu has held sway again. Through technicalities, but I do not have details. I was saying earlier on that I wanted to check if there was anyone who was probably in court and had presented, but it appears details of that judgment or the specifics that led to the decision of the Supreme Court has not been released. Nonetheless, congratulations to Akeredolu. It's APC again, and then one down for PDP. I think both parties have something to learn from this, and if they both sit up, if they do the needful, then hopefully they have chances in the next election cycle, both at the national and the state levels. Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Still staying on the court issues, it has been, since our last episode last week, it has been one court issue or the other. So the DSS failed to produce Nnamdi Kanu in court. I mean, I don't know what to say, but you guys are legal practitioners. Jaja.
To be honest, my candid opinion on that is one of where we are as a country, where we have gross impunity, lack of respect for the fundamental human rights, beyond the fact that Nnamdi Kanu was not brought. We could see that the optics were not really good, to be honest. We noticed that they were preventing lawyers from coming in, lawyers whose daily business resides in the temple of justice, whether it's for that particular case or any other case. The precincts were highly, guarded. I'm not saying that, of course, they can take precaution, but the reality is that here we are, there's a government has promised that they would make the case fair. It's clear that they have their own concerns, maybe national security concerns. But then again, how do you now display such concerns without people engaging the process, without people knowing what's going on? We also heard that, at least from his own counsel of television, national television, that they have not been granted access to his client. So they don't even know the state of health. They don't know the state of his mind, his well-being. All these are gross violation of human rights. It's one that should not even be encouraged, radically condemned in a democratic setting. We're not in a banana republic, and the actions of the DSS, by and large, goes against not just the rule of law, but against even basic human dignity and the respect for constitution. And I do hope that those who are advising them will advise them properly, allow Nnamdi Kanu access to his legal practitioner, and also access to health services just in case he has health condition, and let it be open so that everybody can see that it's free. Because the tension is getting up. It has two sides. It has a legal side, it has a political side, and we don't know. The system is already charged as it is. And the truth about justice, and this is where I'll stop, is that justice must not be must not only be done, but must be seen to be done in every circumstances. Mind you, power is transient. And if we don't fail to okay, these very basic norms, it's come those who are in neck that they to be changed by their own very action of today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Collins, let me ask you a different question. I know you want to chip into this question, but we're still talking about the court issues anyway. The Nigerian government is seeking to extradite Sunday Igboho back to Nigeria to face almost same charges as Nnamdi Kanu. Don't you think that this act will deter the government of Cameroon? Is it Cameroon? From
Benin Republic?
Benin Republic, sorry. From extraditing Sunday Igboho back to Nigeria.
Well, in the principle of extradition is such that, and in principle of sovereignty as well, is such that countries are allowed to do whatever they want to do to govern themselves. Other countries cannot tell you what to do. Nigeria is a sovereign entity. Benin Republic is a sovereign entity. And as sovereign entities, they have both entered into an extradition treaty. Mind you, the extradition treaty being relied on by the federal government, or to be relied on by the federal government, is the 1984, is it 84 extradition treaty between the West African countries. And I think it's both between Nigeria, Togo, Benin, and Ghana. And then it also excludes those who are wanted for political reasons. The question Sunday Igboho will then have to answer is this, or the council of Sunday Igboho will have to answer is Sunday Igboho needed in Nigeria for political reasons? Is he a political, potentially a political prisoner? If that is the case, then the Benin Republic now have a reason not to honor the extradition treaty between it has with Nigeria. However, if Nigeria can prove its case that Sunday Igboho is not wanted for political reasons, then of course there's a good chance that it has no option but to release Sunday Igboho back to Nigeria. Otherwise, it's to be in breach of the existing bilateral agreement it has with Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much. Last week, in our last week episode, we did promise our viewers we'll be looking in depth into the Anambra politics. Are we ready for the Anambra issues? Okay. Jaja, last week, a court in Awka ordered INEC to replace the Abgas candidate's name with Chukwuma Soludo's name. And up to date, INEC has not obeyed that order. What's going on?
INEC's usual practice is an institution that always tries to respect the courts and the rule of law. It has said it time and again that it will not want to be seen to flout the laws of the land or the pronouncement of any court of competent jurisdiction. And the reason is that they don't want a situation that it will cause confusion, perhaps render the judgments nugatory, or even create absurd outcomes. That is why, as much as possible, they are trying their best to place it. I'm not holding brief for INEC, but I can tell you that through their spokespeople, they have said it time and again that they would always want to respect court judgments. Now, in this particular Anambra case, it's a bit tricky because here we have two courts of competent jurisdiction issuing different orders. Which one will INEC now obey? Ideally, if INEC is not obeying, what it's trying to preempt is that whoever is more aggrieved will have to take it up to the Court of Appeal or a higher court of competent, a higher court with a higher jurisdiction, So I think that is what is at play because what will INEC do? If I was their legal advisor, I would also tell them to stand down so that they don't get themselves into murky water, because you cannot now obey one and flout one. They already obeyed the first in time, and it's now left for the aggrieved party to take necessary steps to escalate it to the Court of Appeal. It's only at that point that now then INEC will now further obey the pronouncement or judgment of that higher court, which I also suspect may even go up to Supreme Court. So I think that's where it is, and INEC's action in this sense is actually justified.
Okay, Collins, let me come to you. If this case is going to get to the Supreme Court, knowing the history of legal system in Nigeria, don't you think by the time you get to the Supreme Court, the election would have come and gone?
It's it's not impossible. Nonetheless, and I hope I'm correct in what I'm about to say next, I think the courts have recently sort of taken a posture when it comes to political matters, pre-election matters of this nature, and they would usually want to expedite things. So if we rely on the precedents of the court in this respect, there's a good chance that judgment from the higher court would come way before the election. The question we'll ask is, at what point before the election would it come? Would it be enough for the prevailing candidates?
Yeah, because sorry, let me butt in quickly. If you remember what happened in Ondo State, between we just talked about Ondo between Jagede and Krodolu. If you remember what happened in Ondo State, Jagede actually lost that election because judgment didn't come to them. 3 days. Judgment came to them 3 days before the election date. So he had no time to campaign. So if that happens, was taking me time again.
Yeah, which is where I was going to with this, that the question is, how soon before the elections will the judgment come? Would it be enough time for the relevant parties to then campaign and gather their supporters? It's a tricky one, unfortunately, and you cannot stop anyone from going to courts. It's their constitutional rights. You can't take it away from them. Rather unfortunate that we have a rather slow grinding wheel of justice in Nigeria, and we only hope there's nothing the political pundits will say in this matter. It's just a matter of when will it happen? Will it even happen? And how soon before the elections will it happen?
Almost all the political parties in Anambra State are in crisis. APC is in crisis. Indeed. Because they don't know who their candidate is. PDP is in crisis. They don't know who their candidate is. ABGA is in crisis. They don't know who their candidate is. I think the only party that is safe at the moment is YPP. Who happens, and it's quite a popular party in Anambra State. So if the Supreme Court does not step in immediately, don't you see a situation where there will be a legal problem come November?
I don't know what you mean by legal problem. I don't anticipate that would be the case.
If the three major parties are not going to be participating in the election,
it doesn't matter.
They don't know who their candidate is.
It really doesn't matter. The question is, was the election properly conducted? If the elections are properly conducted, would you then halt the elections because certain parties did not get their acts right before the election day? We've just discussed the Ondo State scenario and the matter in Ondo State. I'm not sure at any point in the brief of in the court processes of Eita Ojegede, did he ever mention that the reason he lost the election was because did not give him judgment on time for him to join the race and then campaign. So that's from a political perspective. From a legal perspective, no, I do not anticipate a political problem. From a political perspective, I anticipate problem for those other parties because
so you're saying
their chances of standing out becomes leaner and leaner by the day unless these issues are resolved fast enough. Otherwise, YPP may just take the day.
I still want to ask the question. So are you saying it's of no consequence if the three major parties in Nigeria, ABGA, PDP, and APC are the three biggest parties in Nigeria, if they don't participate in that election?
Absolutely not. There's no problem at all. Why would there be a problem if their non-participation was not caused by lack of due process? And by lack of due process, I mean, if it was not caused by lack of due process on their part and on the part of the legal system, on the part of INEC, INEC will not deliberately exclude them from participating in the elections. They've gone to court. The court needs to give a final say in these matters that have been brought before it. And if the final say of the courts does not come on time for these gentlemen and these political parties to campaign, and does not come on time for them to secure the necessary votes, I do not see any problem. In the West, I'm trying to remember which of the states had a minority party who produced the governor in that state. Was it Ekiti? I reckon it was Ekiti.
Is Ondo state. Was a Labour Party.
Labour Party. Thank you very much. The heavens did not fall. I had not anticipate heavens will fall in these circumstances as well. The question we then need to ask ourselves is this: were any of these parties unjustifiably removed from the process? If the answer to that question is no, I do not anticipate any problem if a minority party or a supposedly minority party, and what we call minority is relative, they are popular if they win.
Let me ask Collins, hold that thought. Let me ask Jaja. Man, we flow in the same direction of these questions now. Let me ask Jaja. So if the three major parties in the state do not participate in the election, you don't see any political crisis in that state?
I don't see any political crisis, and I will take a different direction from what Collins is saying. There are many variables at play here. And one of the variables I look at is, the example I will cite would be the case of Imo, Imo State. In Imo State, there was a political crisis in Imo North. And one would have thought that maybe a PDP would benefit from that. But to our surprise, APC went to the field without a candidate. It won. And when the issue of candidacy was settled, the candidate was sworn in.
Talking about that Imo State situation, is that even legal for a party to go to? No.
It comes down to our jurisprudence.
Yeah, is that even because according to our constitution, a party should. I know people vote for party according to the Supreme Court, but a party should have a candidate. So in a situation where there was no candidate, so what you say, so this now contradicts everything, because if PDP is having who is my candidate crisis, and APC is having who is my candidate crisis, and ABGA is having who is my candidate crisis, that means the parties can go into this election without a candidate if INEC allowed that in Imo North.
Well, it's not necessarily the fault of INEC. You have to put it squarely on the politician and our political class, who are very desperate, ingenious in trying to, benefit from the gaps in our laws, our processes, and even the Constitution itself. Of course, there are many contradictions in our Constitution. That is why a lot of vehemently, insisted that we need to change this Constitution so that it can reduce to a large extent some of these issues that tend to come around. Now, to this matter of Anambra State, it's now we are seeing conflicting court orders here and there. Of course, one would expect that each and every party, PDP, APC, ABGA, will take it up to the Supreme Court. They will still go in the field, and the populace, the citizens, will vote for whom they want to vote for. And at the end of the day, whoever comes triumphant in Supreme Court will now be the governor. Okay. I don't envisage that extreme. I don't envisage that extreme path towards the governorship, but it's not unlikely, because our politicians don't have the sense of patriotism, decency, and are not good political actors. So that is one that could happen. It's also a theory I would.
Let me come to Collins. Let's compare Imo and the Imo North and the Anambra State. So if INEC allowed APC to go into the election without a candidate, what is stopping them from allowing PDP, APC, and ABGA in the Anambra State to go into this election without a candidate and then decide who their candidate is if they win the election?
You see, the Imo North scene was rather unimpressive. I'm trying as much as possible to use nice words to qualify what happened there. My question was, whose name was on the ballot paper?
Yeah, that's still my
Of course,
question.
it was a party, APC. But then, who was cleared for that election? A candidate needs to be cleared for an election before the party's name is then brought or printed on the ballot sheet. Who was cleared by INEC for that election? If no one was cleared by INEC, where in God's name did INEC, or how in God's name did INEC find a way or a reason to insert the name of APC on the ballot sheet? It's a funny scenario, you know, or what we see in the political space in Nigeria, and makes you wonder when we will ever get it right. And now getting it right goes beyond conducting a free and fair election, or rather, conducting a free and fair election goes beyond what having a peaceful election process. It extends to the umpires behaving like proper umpires that are unbiased. If you give the impression, the slightest doubt of your impartiality in the process, then the level of how free and fair the election is then called into question. Okay. Whether or not INEC will do this or repeat this scenario again is one we would have to see or wait to see. I hope they do not.
Let me ask you the last question for today, Collins. Is this the hand of Jacob, the hand of Esau, and the voice of Jacob in Anambra State?
Unfortunately, I do not know yet. Frankly speaking, I do not know. And the reason why I do not know is because we can see how these things, I bet you, Ben, we will wake up tomorrow morning to listen or wake up to another news of fresh happenings and fresh issues from Anambra. And this, your question would have been redundant. We will only wait to see.
Okay. Jaja, I'm going to ask you the same question. Is this, can you hear me?
You're on mute, Jaja.
Jaja, if you could unmute yourself, sorry.
Please, I would like if you could repeat the question. I didn't.
Okay, I'll repeat the question. What is happening in Anambra State? Is it the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't want to answer that question directly. But how I see it is that I think it's the culture of the peculiarity of Anambra. Here you have a lot of men of equal means and equal stature, all competing for one thing, all successful in their spheres, all have godfathers, money, and all that. Now, if you look at the case of, because I want to believe that's what you're alluding to, maybe an APC, PDP, and an ABGA. APC does not have anybody in Anambra except maybe Senator Andy Uba. I don't know whether he's a senator.
Sorry to cut you short, Jaja. When you say APC does not have anybody, what do you mean by that?
Their structure is not strong. What they have,
you have a minister.
APC have won election in Anambra State. Don't forget that.
We have a minister at the moment. The self-acclaimed Lagos boy.
That's a constitutional.
The self-acclaimed Lagos boy. The Minister of Labor and Productivity. Don't forget, he was a former governor in that state too. He was a governor for 3 years. You can't rule him out.
I must accord him that honor. Former governor. you know. But the truth about it,
when you say former governor, though, the Supreme Court does not recognize him as a governor.
Well, the truth is that he was a governor until the Supreme Court said he wasn't. And for the record, he actually acted in that capacity for a time before that.
For 3 years, yeah.
Yes. So the truth about it is that APC's structure is not as strong as PDP and ABGA. That's the long and short of what I'm saying. And it's a very tricky position. As it is now, I still think ABGA may still be the party to beat. Because one, except if there's an intervention from APC at the federal level. Are the people inclined to APC? That's the question.
What do you mean intervention? Is that still the hand of Israel, the voice of Jacob?
That mysterious hand, sir. Yeah. It could actually be the hand. You never know.
Right, guys. I mean, we unfortunately we've run out of time. You know, I mean, 40 minutes have just gone by like it was something else. But hopefully we'll carry on from this in our next episode. You know, Collins, thank you for coming. Jaja,
thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you, viewers.
Thank you, Ben.
We'll see you guys next week. Have a blessed evening.
See you next week.
Thank you.